Most people think that their water, more or less, is okay. It might smell a little bad or taste a little funny, but they think it's mostly okay. But those people would be wrong. The water in your home gets absorbed in your body through cooking, cleaning, bathing, and showering, not just drinking water. And here's what's hiding in your water: chlorine, which has been linked to bladder and rectal cancer, and increased levels of heart disease. Barium, lead, and manganese at concentrations federal regulators say can damage the kidneys and nervous system. And arsenic, which has been linked to several types of cancer, and especially toxic for pregnant women, resulting in low birth weight or premature birth for their newborn babies. Arsenic is linked to stillbirth and spontaneous abortion as well. Whether you know it or not, the water in your home is affecting you and your family. The danger is real. Our public water systems are outdated, and the current water treatment technology and government agencies cannot keep up with the growing list of organic and chemical contaminants in our water. And it's not just the industry saying it. An independent government report was just released that reveals your water poses an increased risk of cancer. We'll get more to that in just a few moments. In this video, we're going to offer overwhelming proof about why that is, why you need to be concerned about it, and we're going to give you the information and the resources you need to do something about it. Most people don't even think about their water. If they do, it's just about the way it tastes or the odor. And many times they think they're safe by just not drinking from the tap. Some people buy bottled water. Some people use a filter on their kitchen faucet. Some homeowners have installed a water softener. That's not enough. A lot of people think they're okay because their water doesn't taste or smell bad, and therefore must be okay. Maybe they think they're okay because they get bottled water brought in, and then they think they're okay because, hey, I really don't have a water problem. But what they're not thinking about is that where the majority of toxins, chemicals, and things that are genuinely harmful in the water get into your bodies and your family's bodies and your children is not through drinking. It's through the water absorbed in your skin when showering and bathing. If you take showers in your home, if you take baths in your home, let me give you a quick demonstration that's going to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is relevant for you. Watch. Here's normal tap water. A kit to test chlorine in pool water turns the water yellow. The darker yellow it is indicative of the fact that you've got more and more chlorine. Some tap water has more chlorine than a swimming pool does. Let's stir another glass of the same tap water with your fingers. Add the same test drops. And where did all the chlorine go? It's gone. It was absorbed right through the skin of your fingers. And it's not just the chlorine that gets absorbed into your skin when you're in the shower. It's a host of contaminants, pollutants, and chemicals that can be hidden in your water. Here's how the problem got so bad. The last 100 years of manufacturing has produced some 60,000 different chemicals which have polluted our environment. Water is stored in the atmosphere and returns to Earth as snow or rain. It picks up those chemicals, contaminants, and pollutants in the air, ground and rivers, lakes, and aquifers. Then it goes through your local water treatment plant. Even if the city where you live does a perfect job of purifying your water supply, it doesn't. It doesn't even come close. Your water, after traveling through several miles of pipes, is still likely to have lots of horrible stuff in it when it comes out of your faucet. Why? Because you've got water pipes that are 50 years or older, sometimes made of lead, that are full of rust, sediment, and other hazardous waste. But very likely, the city simply can't do a perfect job of cleaning up your water supply. The problem is just too overwhelming. So they dump chlorine and other chemicals in the water. Which in a way is good, because chlorine kills a lot of those nasty disease-causing bacteria in the water. But guess what? You know why it's able to kill all of those bacteria bugs? It's very simple. It's because chlorine is poison. However, using a poison like chlorine to kill the bad guy microbes is sort of like undergoing chemotherapy when you have cancer. In other words, not only do the cancer cells get zapped, many of your non-cancerous cells also get zapped. This has been a problem for decades. And there are hundreds of articles, case studies, and medical tests in certified publications from the EPA, Harvard University, the New York Times, the Massachusetts General Hospital, University of Alabama, University of Georgia, and the University of Florida that all prove bathing, showering, cooking, and drinking chlorinated water increases your risk of cancer. But the average American has no idea that these biological contaminants are lurking inside of what we think is this beautiful, clear water, when it's really not. In fact, it's a silent but deadly killer. But wait a minute. If everything that I've just said is true, that there's chlorine in the water and chemicals, pollutants, and biological contaminants that you can't see with the normal human eye, if all of these things are true, why haven't you heard about it? Surely if water was really this bad, if it was really this dangerous, if it was really something that could really hurt and harm you, your family, anyone who is around this stuff, you would have heard something about it by now, and something more than just, hey, this water smells and doesn't taste so great. Well, surely if all of this is true, you would have heard about this. So what's the deal? Well, in fact, the warning is out there. In May of 2010, something big happened, something that's never happened before. The U.S. government issued the President's Cancer Panel report. The government finally spilled the beans to the American public in this shocking report about the water problem. After decades of case studies, independent tests, and medical journal reports, they finally admitted that chlorine, contaminants, carcinogens, and pollutants in our water supply are causing cancer. And most importantly, they're telling all Americans to install a water filtration system in their homes to reduce their risk of cancer. But here's the problem. Most homeowners have no idea that this safety warning has been issued, even though it has been a problem for decades, and it's only getting worse. Now I want you to think about something. The government is slow to respond. It's slow to put out warnings about health risks. If you need proof for that, just think about how long it took the government to issue warnings about the health risks of smoking and cigarettes. They said nothing for almost 200 years, when things were really, really bad, and people were getting sick and people were dying. And it wasn't until 1964 when the Surgeon General Luther Terry issued a landmark warning, concluding for the first time that smoking is a direct cause of lung cancer, heart disease, and emphysema. That's when they finally issued the warning. It took the government almost 200 years to actually put stern language around smoking and cigarettes, because they waited for overwhelming proof that, yes, this stuff is harmful for people. It's dangerous for people, and there's no gray area about it. Well, in our opinion, it took them way too long to issue this warning about water. But now that it's here, if you weren't paying attention before, you better pay attention now. This problem isn't getting better, it's getting worse. While there are hundreds of health risks associated with all of the contaminants that may be lurking in your water, it's the effect on day-to-day life that people seem to notice most. Water that tastes and smells bad. No one wants to cook with it. Having to use tons and tons of soap and shampoo in order to wash and not feel soft like it should. Skin that becomes dry, itchy, and scratchy. You know why this happens? Every time you take a bath or shower, your skin pores open up, allowing the chlorine and chemicals to enter, causing irritation, acne, and an imbalance of bacteria on the skin. This makes your skin dry all year long and makes it itchy, especially if you suffer from eczema.
I actually started with the children because they were actually scratching a lot, and ended up finding out that they were both diagnosed. They had eczema. They came to the house, they tested our water, found a very high content of chlorine.
Chlorine, chemicals, pollutants, and contaminants cause wrinkles and dry, blotchy skin that's unattractive and uncomfortable, unhealthy as well. Chlorine damages the oil and mineral balance of cells, destroying the fluid balance, resulting in dried-out dead cells. This leads to dry, peeling skin, which makes the surface of the skin appear shiny.
The taste of food, you could tell there was like an aftertaste. Nobody would drink it, and my skin was really, really dry.
The problem doesn't stop there. It also attacks your hair, making it tougher to manage. Hair coloring doesn't last as long, making scalp dry and hair brittle and dull. Chlorine has the ability to burn the tips of your hair off, resulting in split ends. Even worse, hair loss can be significant. Chlorine, contaminants, and chemicals get in the food you cook. Cooking with it destroys the taste of your food. Coffee, juice, and tea smells and tastes terrible.
I think that the county water is not as pure as it should be, and I think the taste of it was chemical tasting.
I didn't like the whole idea of all the impurities in the water. My grandchildren that are bathing at my house at least 3 or 4 times a week.
And did you ever wonder why the color of your clothes fades so quickly? It's obvious. It's the chlorine and pollutants attacking the fibers. But it's more than just with dry skin or damage to our hair, or even a problem cooking with our water. It's a health problem that you aren't aware of.
It was very dangerous to cook and bathe and drink the water with the chlorine in it.
Sometimes the problem gets so bad it makes the news. Just ask Jennifer Hall Massey. Her family was featured in a New York Times story about the clean water laws. In fact, her entire family tries to avoid any contact with their tap water. Her youngest son has scabs on his arms, legs, and chest where the bath water, polluted with lead, nickel, and other heavy metals, caused painful rashes. Many of his brother's teeth were capped to replace enamel that was eaten away. Jennifer's neighbors have just as many problems. They apply special lotions after showering because their skin burns. Tests show that their tap water contains arsenic, barium, lead, manganese, and other chemicals at concentrations so high that federal regulators say could contribute to cancer and damage the kidneys and nervous system. So Jennifer's story is dramatic. But what if you're not experiencing any of those symptoms? Does this mean your water is safe? Of course not. Just because you don't have any visible symptoms, such as a rash, skin irritation, or bad smell, doesn't mean there isn't a problem hidden in your water. Go back to the 1950s. If you showed up to the doctor's office complaining of coughing and hacking and this or that, they'd probably prescribe some medicine for flu or a cold or whatever it might be and send you back home, all the while not realizing that it was side effects from smoking. Well, we see a similar thing with water quality. Many of today's health issues and ailments, things that send us to the doctors, have a hidden cause. Your water can be, more importantly, the invisible things lurking in your water can be the cause. Even with the most extreme cases with people getting sick, even in those cases, it wasn't obvious from day one. They didn't turn on their water one day, put their hands under the sink, and get sick. The continued exposure over a long period of time to the chemicals and pollutants that are invisible to the human eye puts your body at the most risk. It's gotten so bad that the government finally woke up from its sleep and said, "Hey, we have to warn people about this stuff," and they have to do something about it. It would be nice if the government fixed the problem, but they haven't. They want you to do something about it.
What I didn't like about my water was the taste and the smell. And I was always worried that there might be heavy metals and other things in it that weren't good for me and my family.
Well, you're always concerned about what there might be in the water. I mean, there's so many diseases now and conditions that people are developing, and you're always fearful that maybe it has something to do with the water system. So you like to have, the purest, freshest, cleanest water you can get.
Almost 40 years ago, Congress passed the Clean Water Act to force polluters to disclose the toxins they dump into waterways, and to give regulators the power to fine or jail offenders. But that hasn't stopped the problem. In the last 5 years alone, chemical factories, manufacturing plants, and other workplaces have violated water pollution laws more than 500,000 times. 500,000 cases of water pollution. The violations range from failing to report emissions to dumping toxins at concentrations regulators say might contribute to cancer, birth defects, and other illnesses. However, the vast majority of those polluters have escaped punishment. State officials have repeatedly ignored obvious illegal dumping, and the Environmental Protection Agency, which can prosecute polluters when states fail to act, has often declined to intervene. So the question that you have to be asking yourself is, number one, what's actually going on in my water supply? What's getting absorbed into my skin? What am I taking in through the things we cook? What effect could that be having on myself or my family? Number two, what do you do about it? The answer to number one is simple. You have to get the water tested to see how bad the problem is. You may not drink the water that comes out of your faucet. You may not even cook with it. But unless you don't shower or bathe at your home, the quality of your life and the quality of your health is significantly impacted by what's happening in your water, by what may be lurking in your water. Things have gotten so bad and have become such a serious threat that the government, who is slow to respond to anything like this, has finally issued a strong warning. Every American household needs to protect themselves with a water filtration system in their home. This stuff is invisible. You might think your water is perfect, and it could have awful stuff inside of it. Now, you might think that your water is fine because you don't notice any taste or smell. You also might think that it's the worst on the planet because you don't even want to take a sip from it because it's repulsive. But the truth of the matter is the only way you can know with certainty how safe or dangerous water is to have it professionally tested. It could be silently poisoning you, killing you, making you sick, and the only way you can know for sure is to have it professionally tested. If you're watching this while one of our technicians is in your home, they're probably already testing your water and will tell you about the results afterwards. But if not, you need to. If not, I need to encourage you in the strongest possible way that you stop what you're doing, even stop this DVD, and place that phone call right now and ask us to come out and do a test for your water. It's the only way that you'll know how bad your problem is. We'll come out. We'll test your water for you. We'll explain what it means, and then you'll have the peace of mind that comes with knowing exactly what's going on. If there's any problem with it, we'll let you know how to solve it. If the water quality is great, we'll let you know that too. Go ahead and do it now. So now you know the problem. You know how severe the risks are. And you know why the U.S. government has for the first time ever recommended that you get a water filtration system to protect you and your family. But what's the answer? If you have a water conditioning system or you get one, does that mean you and your family are safe? Unfortunately, the answer is no. You see, there's a big problem with that recommendation. And the problem is that not all water filtration and conditioning systems are the same. For years, homeowners have tried different types of water filtration devices, but each had problems. There was nothing that solved the chlorine, contaminant, and chemical problem, and the scale buildup problem caused by hard water. Water softeners using salt or potassium were used for decades, but they create more problems than they solve. They don't do anything to filter the water and protect your family. They do not remove chlorine, contaminants, heavy metals, or any pollutants. The only thing they do is convert hard water to soft. But they also remove the calcium and magnesium your body needs. It's bad for the environment because they pollute the environment with hundreds of gallons of brine discharge, which is why they're being outlawed in several states. Even worse, it adds salt or potassium, and you can't cook or drink salt water. Kitchen faucet filters can't remove all the contaminants, and you'd need to install one on every faucet, including your shower and bathtub, and they don't work on your washing machine or water heater. You might think you're safe because you drink bottled water, but guess what? This same report from the President's Cancer Panel also recommended not to drink bottled water because dangerous chemicals, including TBA, can leach from the plastic into the water. This same government report tested bottled water and found bacteria growth in half the samples. But wait, there's even more bad news about bottled water. Most bottled water is just tap water, which has been filtered by a process known as reverse osmosis. This strips the water of all its nutrients, including calcium and magnesium your body needs. This reverse osmosis process turns the pH level into an acidic state, instead of the neutral to alkaline state that it should be. Bottled water is so acidic, it can actually leach the calcium and magnesium out of your bones. Here's bottled water on the left. Add a few drops of phenol red, the same chemical used to test the pH level of pool water, and the water turns yellow, indicating the water is extremely acidic. Obviously, that's not good. And let's stop to consider how water bottles are polluting the environment. It takes millions of gallons of oil to produce the plastic bottles, and it takes millions of gallons of oil to deliver the bottled water to your local store. And then we waste 50 billion empty plastic bottles each year, most of which never get recycled and end up in a landfill. And bottled water doesn't solve the biggest problem, the water you cook, clean, shower, and bathe with. It seemed like there was no solution to the problem until a group of engineers developed a breakthrough solution that solved the problems associated with hard water, chlorine, and chemical contamination. Over the next 10 years, they tested it in both research labs and consumers' homes before making it available to the public. It's the crystal clear water system, a green solution that's environmentally friendly and uses no salt or chemicals, tested and proven in thousands of homes. It starts off with our exclusive mixed media filtration system. This proprietary 3-step process uses a mixed media of KDF, carbon, and quartz. The KDF is a copper-zinc alloy that helps remove chlorine. It removes heavy metals and other contaminants. Most importantly, the KDF acts as a bacteriostat, which prevents biological contamination from growing in the media. Other filtration systems use just carbon only, which cannot remove heavy metals and other contaminants. KDF is a critical component of the system. The crystal clear system uses coconut shell granular activated carbon. This is loose media, not the less expensive carbon block found on other systems. This is the premium industry standard for chemical removal, chlorine, and volatile organic compounds. Just 1 cup of this diamond-grade carbon has the absorption power to cover an entire football field. Finally, the quartz at the bottom of the tank acts to maintain proper water flow and pressure. We showed you before how much chlorine is in your tap water and how the water turned yellow. Now let's look at water that's gone through the crystal clear water system. Add the test drops to measure the chlorine level, and guess what? The water is clear. All the chlorine and pollutants were removed. We also showed how adding a few drops of phenol red, the same chemical used to test the pH level of pool water, turns bottled water yellow, indicating the water is extremely acidic. Adding the same phenol red to tap water that's gone through the crystal clear system shows the water turning pink, because it's pH balanced, the way nature intended. It's not acidic like bottled water or water you'd get from a reverse osmosis system. The crystal clear system is virtually maintenance-free, doesn't use salt or potassium, doesn't make your water acidic, and doesn't require expensive filter changes. Once the water has gone through the filtration system, it's ready to travel through our electronic descaler, which will prevent all the problems normally caused by scale buildup in your pipes caused by hard water. Hard water is high in dissolved minerals, namely calcium and magnesium bicarbonate. It's not a health risk, but it creates the scale buildup in your pipes, and it causes you to use more soap and detergents when doing dishes or laundry. As water passes through the electronic descaler, the computer inside constantly monitors how much calcium and magnesium bicarbonate is in the water. When it senses it, it begins to start producing electrical impulses at the rate of 5,500 impulses per second. Between the anode and cathode, it splits up the two atoms of hydrogen. The difference, removal of H2-9. By electrolysis, we split up the two atoms of hydrogen and leave a product that is very soluble and non-adherent. Using high-frequency electronic pulses, our system changes the chemical state of the calcium and magnesium from a bicarbonate to a carbonate structure. This not only puts the calcium and magnesium into a form your body can absorb, but helps eliminate scale buildup in your pipes, plumbing fixtures, and appliances. Best of all, no salt, no chemicals.
Our drinking water tastes so much better, and you never smell the chlorine, and we know it's good for you.
Well, the convenience of having a whole water system installed is basically you don't have to worry about filtering water in a pitcher or getting water out of the refrigerator. Every faucet in the house is equipped with the system, and the water flows through the system.
As far as the drinking water, the quality of the water when you wash and bathe and do the laundry, just a great system. I would highly recommend it.
I like to put fresh cold water into the machine before I brew the coffee, and I think the coffee